This one is about, not about, but it was kind of inspired by everything that happened on Wednesday. Last week I said I didn't know what I wanted to do this week because I didn't. Usually I have a plan. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing next week and the week after that. I had no idea what I was going to do this week. And, a few days ago I got the idea to do something about politics, but then Wednesday happened, and that was just sort of confirmed that that was going to be today's episode. So basically, if you don't know what happened, a bunch of Trump supporters tried to storm the Capitol building and do a bunch of crazy stuff, and just just a mess. There's a lot that I could say about that, but I'm not here to talk about that. That's not what I'm doing. If if you somehow don't know about that, you can look into it, but that's not what this is. That's just sort of what inspired me to do this episode, because I don't think I've talked about politics yet, at least not like American politics. And I usually try to keep everything more general, talking about all parts of the world and problems that everybody from anywhere experiences, because I know that anyone in the world can watch this. But I just felt like this was something that I had to do. So, chapter 1 is called Beware the Entitled, and this one is about people who think that the universe owes them something. And it's this sort of attitude that they carry with them in everyday life, little things, just little subtle things that you don't even realize. An entitled person is not always going to be someone who's just a very out in the open, unpleasant person. There could be really good people who also have a little bit of that entitlement issue. So that's what we're going to talk about. And I saw a quote that I'm going to paraphrase here that said, "Fear and faith both require you to believe something you can't be certain of." And that's one of the main things that fear and love have in common, is that in order to relax and trust that everything is okay, you have to believe something that you can't see or be certain of. And to be afraid also requires you to believe something that you can't see or be certain of. Because what are you really afraid of? If you are afraid that you're going to die, well, why is that necessarily a bad thing? Why is that scary? Hello? Somebody said hello. um, People don't think that far ahead. They just think death bad, death equals bad, death is the end of life, life is good, life is why I'm here. But there's a lot more to it than that. You have to be able to think about it and ask more questions rather than just kind of passively living. So when you act that far ahead, you realize that there is nothing that's absolutely certain. There is no concrete solid fact that is objectively to be afraid of and to run in fear from. You have to believe that you should be afraid of it, the same way that you would have to believe that you shouldn't. So at the end of the day, everything comes down to belief. Everything. And for the same reason, you really can't convince anyone of something that they don't want to believe in. You could be showing someone proof. You could be showing them a fire and telling them, this is a fire. And if they want to somehow convince themselves that it's ice or water, they'll find a way. Because people, it sounds crazy, but I've known people to do that. And it is crazy, but people have to accept the fact that nothing is ever just going to be proven. You're never going to get somebody to believe something that they don't want to believe. And if you spend all your time trying to convince people to get on your side or to, share your views on the world, you're wasting your time. You have to be living just by example. And your goal should always be mindfulness and avoiding fear-based decisions. That's the second thing I have written for this chapter. So, if you if you focus on just focusing, if you focus on thinking everything through, like I said before, you know, think it through to its end. Don't just stop at, well, I'm afraid of this because it's bad. Say, why is it bad? Work through that until you find answers. And I feel like eventually you're just going to realize that nothing is certainly bad or good. So take somebody who doesn't agree with you on your worldviews or political views. If you are curious to learn how they're going to try and convince you that that fire is ice, you can absolutely be open to that and say, if you want to try and tell me that this obvious fire is somehow ice, by all means, I'm very curious to hear what you have to say. But I highly doubt you're going to convince me that that's not a fire because it's burning. There are flames. If I put my hand near it, my hand gets burned. But you're telling me it's water? You're telling me it's ice? And, it doesn't mean that you should just shut them down. It doesn't mean that you should attack them and try to, hurt them, because where is that coming from? In your own self, you have to realize that you are letting them make you angry. You're letting them bring you down and bring you to a place that you don't really want to be. You're letting all this rage build up inside you, and it's fear. It's something that you wouldn't feel if you felt completely calm and grounded and safe. And when you feel like that, there's really no reason to want to attack somebody else. But we're emotional beings, and we get upset when things just feel unjust, and that's okay. But you have to be mindful. Don't just let it control you. Don't let your emotions drive you. You have to be in the driver's seat, and most people aren't, unfortunately. But there are people who are focused on it, people who have those intentions, people who care about the repercussions of their actions, and then there's people who just don't really spend that much time thinking things through, like the people who, did the thing that inspired me to make this video. It's it's idiotic, but it happened, and it happens all the time on far worse scales than this in other parts of the world and throughout history. This is just what you see, and it's not even that bad by comparison to some of the other stuff that goes on, but it's it's a problem, and the root of it is always fear and ego, control. All you have to do is just be mindful of what is causing you to make your decisions. Where are your decisions coming from? Are they coming from a place of love and trust and faith and, positivity? Or is it coming from a place of fear and I need to have control over this? I need to make this be a certain way. There needs to be a little bit of a balance of that, because there are things that you are supposed to be fighting for. And I'm going to talk about that in the third chapter, but you need to make sure that you're not doing that from a place of ego. It's it's not as simple as just black or white. There's always other layers. Everything is really layered and complex just in the world, and how could it not be? I mean, when you're talking about everything in existence, do you expect it to just be simple, laid out in a handbook, and just here you go, here's the instructions? Nothing is that simple. But it's a little bit complicated just through our language, especially since we have different languages. But in English, everything English is the only language I know, so I can't speak for other languages, but I know that things are harder to understand when translated through a language rather than just feeling something intuitively or in your emotions or intuition. It's it like you can communicate with animals without speaking, and I feel like that's a clearer communication than anything else, and stuff like that is what I think people should be more interested in, because if you don't want to be confused, that's the route you're going to have to take. The last thing I have written for chapter 1 is, violence is valid in the eyes of the panicked. That is honestly the only time people think that they need to be violent, is if they feel panicked in some way. And people build shells, people armor themselves and sort of just try to block off their emotions, push it down, and they don't realize that what they're doing is coming from a place of fear. but ultimately it is. If you get into a bar fight, some guy starts, like, I don't know, hitting on a girl that you like or your girlfriend or whatever, and then you want to take him out into the alley and beat him up. Like, where is that coming from? Is that coming from a place of faith and positivity and love? If not, there's only one other option. And you can easily figure out where the fear is rooted in that. It's, this uncertainty, this instability. Imagine if you were totally comfortable in where you were. You're thinking, okay, this dumbass is hitting on my girlfriend. My girlfriend and I have a strong, healthy relationship built on the foundation of trust. What do I have to be afraid of? Nothing. Just take my girlfriend and we'll go somewhere else. Not a big deal. But people have to get involved in this stuff because they don't feel safe otherwise. It's coming from a place of fear and control. And when you break it down like that, it's easier to understand it that way. But um, the other channel that I mentioned called Ask Ivy, Ivy Rivera is she's an educator who talks a lot about stuff like this in more detail, and like mediumship and intuition. And she has this term, I don't know if she made this up, but I really like it, called level jumpers. And this is basically the type of person who will cheat, just a cheater, someone who takes things that they haven't earned. Like, she used the example in her newest video, like taking paper clips from the office. It's just a paper clip, but like, you didn't buy it, and that's a really small scale example, but it's coming from the same place. Like, you take something that you didn't earn. You try to cheat. You try to get ahead of the people. You try to do this, you try to do that, and you haven't worked your way to it. You're just level jumping. You're trying to get up higher than where you're supposed to be. And if you try to cheat, it's just gonna have kickback. You're not gonna be able to get away with doing that because what you're doing is stepping on other people. You're hurting people. You're causing negativity, and that's gonna come back to bite you in the ass always. Because what you put out comes back to you. So the same way that you throw a rock in the water, there's ripples, or maybe you throw a rock in the water and you hit a fish, and then it dies. Um, I've been drowning in fear lately. Thanks for bringing some light. You're welcome. Uh, I just do this every week, so I don't really get a lot of viewers, but I don't really care as long as at least one person can take something positive away from it. I'm gonna keep doing it because if I have something to say, I need to have a platform to get it out on. Otherwise, it's just gonna be circling around in my head, and I'd rather be able to talk about it. So, level jumpers, people who, it's the same mentality that'll get you to justify murdering someone or, you know, invading the Capitol building. Like, it's it comes from entitlement, but being entitled and being a level jumper are not always hand in hand. You can't be a level jumper without being entitled, but you can be entitled without being a level jumper, if that makes sense. And level jumpers have no rules, no limits. There's nothing that they won't do because they feel that they are owed everything and they will do anything to get it. And that's not a healthy mentality to have. You know, you're just accumulating so much debt, and then you're gonna have to pay. And that's not necessarily good or bad. It's what you did, and those are the consequences. Everything has consequences. So just for your own sake, don't be a level jumper, but for the persons whose heads you're stepping on too, to get ahead, for their sake as well. It's like level jumpers, it's for their own sake that they shouldn't be, but it also hurts other people, and that's just everything in life. Everything you do has effects on the world around you and yourself. And if you don't care, you're just isolating yourself, and then you're going to be alone forever. Not good. Or maybe you'll surround yourself with fake friends, and then you'll just get drained because they don't really care about you. And that's just heartbreaking, but it happens all the time because people in this culture, in this society, and at least in the one that I'm exposed to, but I imagine, I have a lot of friends like from around the world, and I don't really notice too much that's different. If anything, it's worse in some other places. But we have cultures that teach us to be afraid and teach us all these values that are just not helpful or not really thinking things all the way through. I'm going to end chapter 1. Let's move on to chapter 2. Don't talk about it. This is really important because this is sort of the whole thing, is that we are taught not to talk about politics and religion. Those are like big no-no because you're going to offend somebody or you're going to piss somebody off. But if you don't talk about it, sweeping politics and religion under the rug discourages mindfulness, and it encourages people to keep people around that are not supposed to be around. Family and friends who have political views that are completely based in ego and hurt other people. You don't want to have those types of people around you in your life for two reasons. One, they're going to be draining you. They're going to be making you question things that you believe in. They're going to prevent you from being your most authentic self and the best version of yourself that you can be. And you're also associating with someone who indirectly causes harm to other people, which makes you no better. It's like standing by watching someone get beat up and just, nah, I'll just let that happen. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to watch this bully dangle something over a little kid's head and he's jumping to grab it. And instead of going in and say, hey, stop being a dick, you're just going to let it happen and walk away. That's like the equivalent of what you're doing. You have to be able to be firm in what you believe. It doesn't mean that you should, like, pick a side or anything, but just understand fully why you stand where you do politically so that you can set boundaries appropriately. Otherwise, you're sort of going to be uncertain and like, oh, well, sometimes I agree with the other side, or sometimes I agree with this, and hey, they pointed this thing out, and that actually makes a lot of sense. Maybe I'm wrong, and oh, what about this? And you're not helping yourself or anybody. But as you level up in life, it's inevitable that you're gonna have to leave some people behind. Like, you got to make room. You're going up, somebody else is going to be left behind, and somebody new will come in. And people who are used to a sort of certain version of you that maybe wasn't your best self are maybe not going to want to come with you when you continue growing. And they never really liked your true authentic self. They never really liked you. They were just around for the version of you that they had in their head that was never real. So they were never a real friend. I don't think you can lose friends. I don't think people who come in and out of your life were ever actual friends. They were just people that were there for a time, and now you're moving on to something else. I think your love life is kind of the same thing, as you grow and evolve, your taste in partners does too sometimes, but sometimes you pick one person and you stay with them for the rest of your life, and that's okay. But, as long as you know that it's okay to leave too, if you have to, because sometimes you pick somebody who isn't going to be good for you, somebody who maybe doesn't see you for who you are, and somebody who isn't the best person to be spending all your time around. As long as you know that it's okay to leave, that you don't have to find one person and be with them forever, you're going to be okay. That's really all you have to know. Because I don't believe in, like, everybody has one other half or a soulmate or someone that they're supposed to find and spend the rest of their life with. It's not that organized. It's not that simple. But things are very organized, just in a more complex way than we understand, and it can be explained. You just have to be able to be willing to let go of some of your old ideas that were hammered into your head since childhood. Um, I think I covered everything on chapter 2. Basically, if you don't talk about it, you're not being mindful. That's the main thing that I'm saying, is if you're not thinking about it, you're just brushing it under the rug, letting it sit there, and then what are you doing? You're passively living. It's a problem. We have to be able to talk about politics and religion, because what could be more important? Politics is like policies. It's rules, which is based on morality, which goes back to religion. If we just brush these things under the rug and let everybody believe whatever they want to believe, we're going to have what we have: anger, wars, bitterness, internet wars, actual wars, just, dictators who want to tell you what to believe. Don't ever trust someone who tells you that they have all the answers. Nobody does. Nobody. But we have to be able to think about it. We have to be able to ask questions. Chapter 3, what I believe in. So I just have 3 things written here, all starting with I believe. And the first one is, I believe in fighting against all injustices caused by fear-based decisions. And this goes as far as, you know, decisions throughout history that were made from a place of fear that ended up becoming something bigger. Like, in America, this country was just, it was founded by a group of slave owners who wanted to be free and said that all men are created equal. And that is something that was pointed out by George Carlin, and it's it's true. If you look at the history of it, that's what happened, and it's a lot more graphic than that actually. But that's something that was a fear-based decision, and it led to a whole society built on that. And I think a lot of this needs to sort of be hammered down and rebuilt. Not all of it. Some things are okay, some things we can work with, but there are a lot of things that need to just be completely redone culturally. And I could use an example like people being racist or homophobic think that it's enough for them to just not be racist. Oh, I don't care what color your skin is, or I don't care, who you want to sleep with. Like, it goes so much deeper than that. There are so many issues that come with being a person of color or being anything other than straight or cisgender, which for those of you who don't know, it just means not transgender. Um, but like, there's so many problems there, and people would rather ignore it because they're not affected by it. They have the choice to ignore it, and they think that it's enough to just not hate them, but you're not helping them and you're not acknowledging the problems that they experience. You'd rather focus your energy on being angry at them for expressing these problems and talking about them, call them liars or say that things are being blown out of proportion or exaggerated, talking about the whole thing that happened on Wednesday, acting like that was blown out of proportion or exaggerated. Why is that what you're putting your energy toward? And why would that be blown out of proportion? Why would someone want to exaggerate that? That just happened. The things that are being blown out of proportion and exaggerated are not that. There's other things that are, I think the real issue is what's being swept under the rug rather than blown out of proportion. We just don't like what we see, so we say that it's all made up. And I could argue with people about this because I know there are people who very strongly disagree with what I'm saying, and I understand it because I hear from their perspectives. Like I said, the people who want to tell me that fire is ice, I still want to hear what they have to say, if just so I can put my mind at ease and know that I'm not missing some information that would change my mind and get me to believe the fire is ice. But it's still interesting to learn about other perspectives, and it never changes my mind because it's just wrong. It's just based on misunderstandings. The reason that the arguments and debates don't go anywhere is because both people inevitably are going to get emotional, and like I said at the beginning, you can't convince someone to believe something they don't want to believe. And when you get emotional, you're not going to be as logical as you could be. You're not going to be focusing on what really needs to be said. And sometimes when you do, when you're truly being just in touch with your intuition, sometimes the truth is just really simple. It's just a simple thing that you're like, oh wow, that's like one word, and somehow that just changes everything in my mind. But it's not going to if you don't let it. And you always have that choice. So you're never going to convince someone of anything they don't want to believe in, but I believe that we can try to logically make things make sense and organize things in a way where you really trace it back and you're like, okay, I think we can all collectively agree that this is not good. The same way that we agree murder is bad. We can go deeper and understand why it's bad, understand why this and that. That's sort of what I'm doing with this podcast. I want to be able to get people thinking about stuff and asking questions and trying to figure out why things are good or bad. And then we can sort of have a thing. It doesn't, it's not a dictatorship. It's not somebody telling you this is good and this is bad. It's just everybody sort of coming together and saying this just makes the most sense and it would be idiotic to do something else. And as long as everybody's on the same page about that, or at least, a majority of people, because like I said, there's always going to be those people, but you have to know how to handle them, and it's not good to keep them in your life. These are problematic people. I believe it's impossible this is the second thing I've written. I believe it's impossible to lean right, like red pill, blue pill, like Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, whatever. If right and left. I believe that left and right are both kind of like there's problems on both sides, but I don't think it's possible to lean right without ego at the root of that decision. Because I understand a lot about what it means to be left or right. And I've also read about like the policies and things that people focus on, the things that they want to fight for on both sides. And the left is definitely a little bit more what is the word? Noble, integrity, I don't know, like they're just the things that the left, the policies that the left tends to fight for, I can get behind. And the right just seems so like there's something icky about it. Like it just feels like gross energy. And, that's right away a red flag. But if you, like I said, if you want to go deeper, you can look through and understand why. Just ask the questions. Why does it feel like that? And then you'll get answers and it'll make sense. So I might do another video. I don't think I'm going to do that in this video, but I might do another video where I talk about actual policies and, you know, the specifics of it, like a video going deeper, but this is just sort of more surface level because I try to keep these types of videos short. Um, the last thing that I have written down is sort of something that I already said. I believe in rebuilding the world through encouraging love and mindfulness. And, like I've said, love is positivity, it's faith, it's trust, it's, the opposite of ego and fear and control. And if if you're mindful, that's really all we can ask for. That's all I could fight for, a society of people who are mindful and care about the decisions that they make, care about their life, care about what they're doing and what everything is and why everything is, and who really take the time to just say, is the decision I'm about to make coming from a place of love or fear? Why don't people ask themselves that? Because people just want to get by. People want to just turn on autopilot and just move because we get exhausted, we get tired, and we don't like having to be active. We're like, jeez, I've just been drained because you don't know how to set boundaries and you end up with people and situations that drain you. You don't know that you are energy and your energy can be depleted and you can feel like you're all these things, there's so many things that we experience that we don't fully understand why we experience them or what it is, and there are tools that we can use to take better care of ourselves, and you can't argue with the results that you get when you see people who take good care of themselves, and you don't bother to ask what those people are doing. I think a lot of people judge some of the things that people do to try and take care of themselves because taking care of yourself is thought of as a secondary thing. You take care of yourself so you can work, but don't you work so you can take care of yourself? Maybe a society that teaches children how to learn by themselves and encourage them to have dreams. Yeah. Um, the messages disappear after a second. They pop up on my screen and then they go away, so I can't see all of them, but I do read through them after the video is processed and goes up on my channel tomorrow. It's available as soon as I finish, but it's like it processes a different version of it or the HD version of it, and then that version has the live chat replay so I can see what people said. So if I miss anything, I'll see it tomorrow. But yeah. I think this is going to be my first 30-minute episode. But it's okay because this is an important topic. By the way, for those of you who subscribe to me because I uploaded music, I'm going to be taking all my music down at some point, and I have a separate channel now for music. I've had it for a while, but nobody really knew about it. It only just reached 100 subscribers, and here I just got 27,000 subscribers. So if you like the music I upload, move over to that channel. You can find it in my channels tab, and it's just called Tristan Music. It doesn't have a profile picture, but the picture is just brown. I don't know why. I guess I just got used to that color and I didn't want to change it, so I'll just leave it like that. But I am uploading all of Lana Del Rey's music on that channel tomorrow. For the Lana Del Rey fans on here, I know my most viewed video on this channel is a Lana Del Rey song. She's also releasing a new song tomorrow, which is why I'm doing that. But yeah, I think I've said everything. I don't think there's anything more to add. I definitely went over everything I have written. Yeah, I think this was a good one. It was longer, but it's okay. God Bless America. I just thought that was kind of a fitting title since I was going to be talking about politics and religion mainly. And also, sometimes I just feel like I'm embarrassed to be an American, but also I don't know that I'd want to be anywhere else because this country is just so weird and interesting to me. um, uh, One of my favorite George Carlin quotes, he said, "When you're born into this world, you're given a ticket to the freak show. And if you're born in America, or if you live in America, you're given a front row seat." So, yeah, I don't know that I would want to be anywhere else, but I would like to travel a lot in my future and just go all over the world and do stuff. So, for now, this is just where I am. I live in New York. So, right now it's 4:30. I think I should do other live streams. I've been saying that for a while, just a live stream of just talking like about myself and getting to know my audience. But could you maybe comment a time that would be good, like maybe earlier in the day or something? Because I wanted to do the podcast at 4, but separate from the podcast, if I do live streams, like what would be a time that you'd be able to watch? Let me know in the comments. Um, and I don't know when I'm gonna do that, but I would like to at some point still. Okay, Fallen World episode 7. I feel like there's something I'm forgetting. I always have to leave a comment because after I finish the video, I think of something I wanted to add, and then it's too late, and then I just leave a comment and pin the comment. So always look for a pinned comment on my videos. Thank you for watching. Okay, somebody said it's 7:30 p.m. there. Okay, where are you from? I'm gonna wait to end it until you answer. Sorry, I don't usually do this. If you've seen my other episodes. Brazil. Okay. Cool. Hello to Brazil and everybody in it. I feel like I have a lot of Brazilian fans on my channel, which is interesting. I don't know why that is, but okay. Thank you for watching. It says I have 4 viewers and 4 likes, so that's nice. I appreciate that. 4 is my favorite number. That's why I do this at 4. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week, hopefully.